And the answer is no. It can only go on so long. Where does the money come from? It comes from Canadians. There's only one taxpayer. The government needs to realize that, and the taxpayer is getting fed up. It needs to stop.
Well said. Well said.
The honourable member, there will be 3 minutes and 15 minutes remaining in questions and comments following the honourable member's speech when the House resumes after question period. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. L'honorable député de La Pointe.
The honourable member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, the life of every Haitian Canada will send back to Haiti in the coming days, weeks, and months is in danger. It's as simple as that. Haiti is basically experiencing a civil war, and this federal government is refusing to strongly commit to not deporting anyone back to Haiti as long as the situation has not improved. We need a moratorium. We need to show humanity, heart, and compassion. We need to act responsibly. Mr. Speaker, I'm calling on the Minister of Public Safety and on his colleague, the Minister of Immigration, not to play with the lives of Haitians. Those who are here need a safe haven. Haiti is not a safe country. Let us not wait until a person who has been deported becomes a victim of violence, as there is so much violence in that country. Let's not wait until it is too late.
For Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Dorset Park Community Hub provides outstanding services to Scarborough, founded in 2011 to serve one of Toronto's priority neighbourhoods by the Agincourt Community Services Association. The hub is a shared community space offering valuable programs and services. It is the largest food bank in Scarborough. They have given out more than 100,000 baskets already this year, going into the busy Christmas season. They provide services for newcomers such as settlement counseling, workshops on housing and employment, and help learning English. They also run programs to support seniors and youth, and programs just for women, which are greatly appreciated by the community. I've attended many events there, but I will always remember the Christmas party in 2016 when many Syrian families experienced their first Canadian Christmas. I would like to thank Executive Director Lee Soda for her outstanding leadership and all the staff and volunteers for their service to Scarborough.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to the Avalon Retirement Lodge in Orangeville on their 35th anniversary of serving our community. Both my parents are graduates of Avalon, so this wonderful facility has a special place in my heart. Established in 1983, Avalon has become a vibrant and vital part of the community, serving seniors in a family-oriented, warm and inviting atmosphere. Their commitment to the care and comfort of their residents is well known in the community, and their reputation is top-notch. Avalon Retirement Lodge and Avalon Care Centre have a combined staff of 212 and are located in the beautiful town of Orangeville. Residents have the opportunity to partake in a variety of interactive events and experiences, develop friendships, take advantage of in-home services, and connect with a wider local community. So it's my pleasure, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate them on 35 years of service to Orangeville and District and wish them many more.
The honourable member for Shefford.
The honourable member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, in my riding of Shefford, there are young people who do sports and who work extremely hard to improve their athletic performance. That's the case of Mathieu Ostigui of Saint-Angèle de Montnoir, who from the time he was very young has competed in figure skating competitions. His discipline and hard work have meant he has already had a full career. Mathieu Ostigui and his partner, Chloé Chouinard, who's from Ontario, recently won the Junior A Figure Skating Championships, Quebec section, which were held in Gatineau. In doing so, they qualified for the Skate Canada Challenge, which will be held in Edmonton. We wish them the best of luck. We're very proud of having such a great talent in our riding. Thank you, Mathieu, for making our region look good, and thank you for your amazing performances. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I was and am extremely disappointed and saddened by the demolition of Boileau House in Chambly. This is a reminder that all levels of government need to work very hard to prevent this type of situation from happening again in the future. The cost and ongoing maintenance are some of the challenges which must be addressed. Built around 1820 by René Boileau, MP and patriot, this house represented another aspect of the rich history of the region and of Quebec, and one thing is sure. The way Quebecers reacted was reassuring. People know that we need to demand more to protect our built heritage. I commit to working with my fellow elected officials at the National Assembly and with all elected representatives to fulfill our collective responsibility and our duty to remember. I would invite my colleagues to do the same. Je me souviens. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Vimy. Mr. Speaker, this year again, from November 25 to December 10, will unfold the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. This is an opportunity for each and every one of us to reaffirm our commitment to prevent and eliminate violence against women and girls across the country, half of whom are affected. These 16 days are essential because we highlight the work that has already been done in the cause against gender-based violence, but also because we reiterate the importance of our actions in this fight. I know that my actions matter, and I pledge to be an ally, to listen, to believe, to denounce, to intervene, and to act. I promise to be present. I invite you all to do the same, not only during these 16 days, but throughout the year. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Mr. Speaker, during the 2016 fires in Fort McMurray, over 80,000 people were forced to evacuate. Sadly, thousands lost their homes. I regret to report many of these people are still without their homes. Many homeowners have been scammed by home builders who have taken deposits never to be seen again. Members of the Hillview community are particularly struggling with condo fees escalating from $300 to over $800 per month, in addition to special assessments, which has added over $50,000 per unit, which is still under construction. These families pay for their home mortgages, temporary housing, and all unforeseen costs. Some have, and many are at risk of losing their homes. Many have received assistance, but many, through no fault of their own, have not. These families simply fell through the flaws in the system. I request the government investigate this travesty and work with the Red Cross to ensure everyone who needs assistance gets assistance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, we held our first formal meeting of the Subcommittee on Sports-Related Concussions in Canada, where the legendary Ken Dryden, winner of the 6 Stanley Cups with the Montreal Canadiens and goaltender for Team Canada in the 1972 Summit Series, appeared before our committee to share his insights on this important issue impacting far too many Canadians. With the majority of child and youth visits to the emergency room being sports-related injuries, and a majority of those being concussions, and knowing the serious long-term impact that this can result from these injuries, the Standing Committee on Health created this all-party subcommittee to have conversations with Canadians on further actions the government can take to address this important issue. I look forward to working with my colleagues and providing recommendations to the government that will help keep children and youth in sport safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, it's with great pride that last Friday I attended the unveiling of the new season of the Roussillon Archaeology Museum located in my riding of La Prairie. I was all the more proud to be there as this year the museum celebrates its 5th anniversary. Inaugurated on September 10, 2013, the museum is much more than a place for the conservation and showcasing of our heritage. It's also and especially a place for research and education. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, the museum has more than 200,000 artifacts, which many are of national interest. This incredibly rich collection is the envy of other museums in Quebec and Canada. To recognize this important anniversary, the museum will not charge admission in December, so I would invite all of my colleagues to visit this museum and to discover for themselves the richness of our Canadian heritage. Don't miss it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, because they are especially vulnerable, Canadian seniors are being targeted for scams and fraud more than ever. We all have heard of the Canada Revenue Agency fraud, threatening arrest over the phone, or immigration scams that threaten deportation, especially in my riding of Richmond Centre, where it is delivered in a non-official language. We also have financial scams, where seniors are being asked to sign away their pensions and life insurance benefits to those that are not working in the best interest of the senior. Motion 203, fraud activities against seniors, will have the government recognize that it can do more to tackle seniors' fraud. I look forward to all party support on this very important motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour.
Mr. Speaker, as the largest provider of out-of-school programs in Canada, the Boys and Girls Club play an integral role in our communities. In my riding of Dartmouth Cole Harbour, I know firsthand how families and youth benefit from the incredible programming the Boys and Girls Club provides. Their programs are comprehensive, integrative, and include physical activity, homework and academic support, healthy eating, arts and culture, civic engagement, leadership. Mr. Speaker, the list goes on. Their clubs are primarily located in low-income areas where they use their program funding to meet the needs of children, youth, and families, while delivering programs that challenge, support, inspire vulnerable children to succeed. Mr. Speaker, I encourage my colleagues to support the efforts of the Boys and Girls Club and to commend them for their hard work helping young Canadians be productive and successful members of our communities.
The honourable member for Laval-les-Îles, Mr. Speaker. Franco-Ontarians and Francophones across Canada will not let themselves be brought down by the cuts announced by the Government of Ontario. Despite those decisions, Francophones in Ontario and across the country will not be afraid to, if necessary, fight for their rights in the courts. If it comes to that, they will be able to use the Court Challenges program, which our government has brought back. Francophones will keep on being proud to speak French and to defend their language. They will also go above and beyond to spread the French language across the country and around the world. Speaking French enhances the status of our Canadian identity. Mr. Ford, you want to divide. Instead, Mr. Ford has helped to bring all of Canada's Francophones together. We stand with Franco-Ontarians.
The honourable member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, this week marks a milestone in Canadian military aviation history, the final flight of the Sea King helicopter. At 55 years of operational flight, the Sea King is the longest-serving aircraft in Royal Canadian Air Force history. And that's a testament to our maintainers, to our aircrew, and our Royal Canadian Navy partners. We've been innovators, the first Navy in the world to land a large helicopter on a small naval ship using the bear trap landing system. That's let us sail in all three of our oceans and around the world for Canada. And at 465,000 operational flight hours, Mr. Speaker, it's like we've had a Sea King flying 24/7 for 53 years straight. So today I want to thank the military families in the Sea King community. 406 Squadron, 443 Squadron on the West Coast, my squadron, 423 Squadron. We used to say that we were flying yesterday's aircraft tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is Saturday, the final flight of the Sea King. We salute the Sea King community.
The member for Charlottetown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honored to rise in the House today to recognize Major Dr. Trevor Jane of Charlottetown. Major Jane is one of 5 members of the Canadian Army recently awarded the officer level of the Order of Military Merit. the second highest honor awarded by our Governor General to recognize outstanding military service. A surgeon with the Armed Forces, Major Jane serves in the 36th Brigade of the Army Reserves for Prince Edward Island and was nominated by his fellow soldiers. His most recent deployment was in Iraq, where he served as a trauma team leader. When he is not serving his country as a reservist, Major Dr. Jane is an emergency physician at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Charlottetown, the program director of the Bachelor of Science in Paramedicine program at the University of Prince Edward Island, and the medical director of the paramedicine program at Holland College. Mr. Speaker, I ask the House to join me in congratulating Major Dr. Trevor Jane on his recent award and to thank him for his dedicated service to our country. Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, fighting climate change is everyone's business. Every country has to do its part. We have 12 years to turn the situation around, according to the IPCC. Every sector of the economy has to bring down its emissions so we can hold global warming to 1.5 degrees. So we have to radically change the way we consume, our habits, and the way we get around. That's why I'm organizing a public assembly on December 2nd next in Salaberry de Valleyfield in the Salle Raphaël Barrette. We will be lucky to have with us Patrick Bonin of Greenpeace, Julia Posca of the IRIS, and Lorraine Simard of Comité 21, and we will watch excerpts of the documentary Demain. As political leaders gather in Poland for COP24, the people of Salaberry-sur-Roi will take the opportunity to talk of citizen initiatives which are calling on governments to act and to also adopt consistent federal policies. Every person around the world understands that we have to be part of the solution. So let's come together this Sunday, the 3rd, in Salaberry de Valleyfield.
Member for Perth Wellington.
Mr. Speaker, manufacturing, and auto manufacturing in particular, are key economic pillars of our economy in Perth Wellington and across Ontario. Our community is home to many manufacturing jobs and thousands of people who are employed in the parts manufacturing field. Our communities rely on these jobs. This makes yesterday's news out of Oshawa all the more concerning. The abrupt announcement that General Motors would cease operations at its Oshawa plant affects not just the people of Oshawa and Durham, but the people of Ontario and Canada. The ripple effect across the entire supply chain is already being felt. We must ensure we have the economic conditions in place to enhance competitiveness and encourage investment. In my riding, I hear from small and medium-sized employers who are feeling the impacts of not only the steel and aluminum tariffs, but also the retaliatory tariffs as well, the effect of which is making it harder and harder for our businesses to compete. Last week's Liberal economic update failed to address the brutal economic realities of these tariffs. Now is the time for these Liberals to act. Ontario workers deserve nothing less.
Honourable member for West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
Mr. Speaker, today is the national launch of Sight Unseen, an art installation from British Columbia, directed by West Vancouver Secondary School teacher Jackie Wong and Hartley Bay High School principal Cam Hill. With the guidance of artist Corey Creed, students from the Gitga Nation and West Vancouver, coastal communities in northern and southern British Columbia, embarked on a journey of revelation to build personal and community awareness of their diverse culture through art, stories, and life. Having shown Sight Unseen at the West Vancouver Art Museum and Harmony Arts Festival and the Museum of Northern British Columbia in Prince Rupert, the students and Sight Unseen are now in Ottawa. To Olivia, Haley, Brianna, and Mackenzie from Hartley Bay, and Steve, Carmen, and Megan from West Vancouver and your fellow students, thank you for courageously walking in one another's footsteps toward truth and reconciliation.
Hear, hear, hear.
Questions orales. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, this morning I had the opportunity to meet with workers at the GM plant in Oshawa who will soon be out of a job. I heard firsthand the anxiety and the fear that their families are now going through because of yesterday's announcements. Now, we can all agree that government support should be there for workers in times like these, but the government's ability to provide that support is severely hampered because it's already running massive deficits. Can the minister confirm if any of the support programs being contemplated for GM workers were factored into the fall economic statement, or can we expect the deficit to be even higher?
The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the Leader of the Official Opposition that this is devastating news for Oshawa, and this is a very difficult time for the workers and their families. That is why we as a government have been very clear. We will stand there with the auto workers. We will stand and support the automotive sector. We will never give up on our workers, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in the work that they do. They provide high-quality service when it comes to the automotive sector, and we've also been very clear about our support when it comes to the automotive sector by the additional support through the Strategic Innovation Fund in the Fall Economic Statement.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to protecting jobs for workers, one thing the government could do is pull back on its plan from the carbon tax. We know that the carbon tax will make it harder to create and protect jobs in Canada because they've admitted it. They've admitted that the carbon tax will threaten jobs so much that they've granted a huge exemption to large industrial emitters. Can the minister confirm whether or not that same exemption will now be granted to the auto sector to protect those Canadian jobs?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, you know why companies invest in Canada? Because we have the best workforce in the globe. We have the best skilled employees around the world. We have top-notch quality in our automotive sector. The Oshawa plant received numerous J.D. Power Awards for quality and production. We're proud of our workers. That is why, as a government, we're going to defend our workers, invest in our workers, support our workers. We're going to continue to support our automotive sector and those hard-working middle-class workers that support and work in Oshawa.
Chef de l'Opposition.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
They're making Canada a more difficult place to invest in to keep those jobs here. Now, Liberal policies have been making it difficult to keep jobs in Canada for some time. Liberal policies in Ontario have driven up the cost of energy to the point where an auto plant in Oshawa pays almost double the amount of energy costs that that same plant would pay in Texas. So, will the minister give Canadian auto workers a fighting chance to save their jobs and cancel the carbon tax?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we have been defending auto workers since day one, since we formed government in 2015. Because of our programming and policies, we've seen a record investment of $5.6 billion in the automotive sector. We introduced the Automotive Innovation Fund and changed those terms and also provided additional support through the Strategic Innovation Fund. These programs brought in additional investments, and through the Fall Economic Update as well and the statement provided by the Minister of Finance, we have provided additional measures for companies to make more investments in Canada. More growth, more investments, more jobs. That's our plan.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Well, maybe that's their plan, but it's not reality. Canada is still reeling from the announcement that 2,500 workers and heads of families would be losing their jobs over the course of the next year. And the suppliers are also at risk. So there are thousands of Canadians waking up to this sad news. The role of the government is to support workers. What is the government's plan to support workers dealing with this crisis? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, our automobile sector remains strong. It is well placed for building cars of today and cars for tomorrow. Clean vehicles. We will always stand with our auto sector and with our workers. We will continue to work with the automobile sector, and we will continue to protect our workers. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Well, the results aren't particularly positive. This week, 2,500 GM workers lost their jobs. But a little while ago, it was thousands of Bombardier workers. So there are 19,000 workers in the oil sector who are affected by this government's bad policies. The government is here to help businesses invest, not leave. What is the government doing to help keep a strong economy in Canada?
Talk about the numbers because they tell a compelling story. 3% GDP growth last year in the Canadian economy, the fastest growth rate amongst the G7 countries, a record unemployment rate of 40 years. 500,000 jobs have been created since 2015, full-time jobs, may I add, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we understand the unique challenges faced in different regions and different sectors, but we have a plan. Our economy is growing, and we're focused on Canadians. We're focused on making sure they have the ability to succeed and they have the ability to find meaningful employment. That is our plan. We're going to continue to invest in Canadians.
The honourable member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-Les Well, if there's one thing that unites Liberals and Conservatives, it's their lack of transparency when it comes time to bail out big companies. The announcement of the closure of the GM plant in Oshawa is a tragedy for the 2,500 workers and their families, and it's a tragedy for the community. What's frustrating, Mr. Speaker, is that GM does not seem to feel any gratitude towards the country that got it out of the hole. In 2009, the Conservatives loaned $7 billion to GM, and GM still owes $1 billion to EDC from a loan in 2009. What is the plan? If there's no plan to keep jobs, will they at least to get that money back?
Monsieur le Président, je suis...
Mr. Speaker, I am very disappointed with GM's decision, and my thoughts are with the employees, the workers, their families, and the community. I understand that this decision is part of a global restructuring plan. It's terrible news for the workers who are affected and their families, and we will continue to stand up for our workers. We will continue to defend our automobile sector. The honourable member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-Les Basques. Yes, but Mr. Speaker, they're not telling us how. I mean, the GM plant in Oshawa once employed more than 23,000 people in Oshawa. It was one of the biggest companies in the world. Now, it was before NAFTA and the Auto Pact when the Liberal governments and Conservative governments decided to abandon their traditional role to support keeping jobs here. But they said, don't worry, the free market will take care of everything. When there's a crisis, governments act with a minimum of conditions, and you end up with the results you get.
Export Development Canada. Will the Liberal ask for a refund if they can't maintain the jobs?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, our number one priority are the automotive workers. We've been very clear that this news in Oshawa, this news that was presented by GM is very devastating for that community. That is why we met with Uniforte. That is why we met with their leadership to talk about next steps and how we can help them going forward. We've also connected and working with the provincial government, with Premier Ford, to see what we can do to help the workers going forward. I also called and met with the mayor from Oshawa as well. All hands on deck. All options are being examined. We're going to continue to make sure we never give up on our workers.
Honourable member for New Westminster Burnaby.
Well, this plant closure is devastating to the thousands of families and to all of Southern Ontario. When we have to remember that billions of dollars came from Canadians to support General Motors in the past few years, it was given with no obligation to maintain jobs. It's clear that the Prime Minister is failing the people of Oshawa. He has no auto strategy and has shown no clean energy leadership. Why is this government giving up on Oshawa? Why is the Prime Minister not fighting for these Canadian auto worker jobs?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I disagree with the member opposite. We never have and never will give up on the workers in Oshawa. We've been very clear, Mr. Speaker. We have our plan. Our plan is investing in people. It's because of our policies and programs, we've seen a record investment of $5.6 billion in the automotive sector since 2015. $4.1 billion is directly attributed to the programs that we put forward to build partnerships, to see investments in our plans to make sure that they can compete going forward and to make sure that they get product mandates. We'll continue to defend and support our auto workers, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for New Westminster Burnaby.
Ministers should be fighting for Canadian jobs, not handing out billions of dollars with no obligation, but that's exactly what this government did again last week. Another $14 billion in money for corporate luxuries like plush jets and stretch limousines. No obligations to workers or to communities. Every time there are handouts given to corporate executives, why are there no obligations to Canadian workers or communities? Why does this Prime Minister always give a blank check when he should be standing up for Canadian workers?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, this is where we fundamentally disagree with the NDP. We believe in investments because investments leads to growth, and growth means more jobs. This is our plan. We've been investing in Canadians. We've been investing in our companies. We've been investing in our regions. We've been investing in the automotive sector. That is why we've seen record investments of $5.6 billion in the automotive sector. That is why Toyota has invested over $1 billion, Honda $500 million, Linamar $750 million. These are clear examples of our policies and programs working. We're going to continue to make sure we defend the workers in Oshawa, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I was in Oshawa when we got the devastating news that our award-winning plant will have no new product after 2019. This morning, our leader and Conservative MPs were at the gates of GM Oshawa offering support to the workers affected by this decision. It's about the workers, Mr. Speaker. The news that 2,500 people are losing their jobs and the ripple effect that this decision will cause is devastating. Will the Prime Minister join us in the fight to save these jobs in Oshawa?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for his very thoughtful question. I understand how difficult this is for him because he represents the community. Members in this side of the House also share with his concerns about the impact, the devastating impact this is having on the workers, on the community. That is why we've engaged with the local municipal leadership there. That is why we've engaged with the province as well. And we're speaking and just met with Unifor as well and the workers to move forward on a path forward to see what we can do to assist the community and to make sure we protect these good quality middle-class jobs.
Member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker, I grew up in Cape Breton, where we lost our industry, we lost our jobs, we lost our economy, and at the end of the day, we lost our people. And the fact of the matter is that there are certain things that are worth fighting for, and there are certain times to fight, and this is one of those times when we need a government to fight. The minister went to Davos 3 years ago and bragged about the fact that he was an activist government in deepening the relationship with GM and showing how competitive Canada was. And he failed. But I would implore through you, Mr. Speaker, that now is definitely not the time to give up. Will this government fight with this party to ensure that we keep these jobs for
the Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we will never give up on our workers. We will always defend our auto workers and we'll always defend the auto sector. We've actually demonstrated that through meaningful action by putting forward policies and programs. Unlike the previous government, which introduced the Automotive Innovation Fund, it was never used because the terms and conditions were such that the automotive sector could never benefit from that program. Once we formed government in 2015, we changed those terms and conditions. That helped bring in more investments, which meant more jobs in the automotive sector. That's a plan, that's what we've done, and that's what we'll continue to do, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, after a century of auto manufacturing in Oshawa, GM determined that Ontario was no longer competitive because of tariffs, taxes, and trade uncertainty. If there's any chance of saving these jobs in Oshawa, we need a plan. We need more than words and sympathy, Mr. Speaker. We need a plan to address tariffs, taxes, and trade. Where is the plan?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I was rather surprised yesterday to hear the member for Durham criticize Canada's retaliatory measures in response to the illegal and unjustified U.S. 232 tariffs.
Terrible.
He called our response dumb. Our response was perfectly reciprocal, a dollar-for-dollar response. It was essential to defend our industry and our workers. The Conservatives supported it at the time. Now they're losing their nerve. But I guess that's no surprise from the party that urged us to capitulate on NAFTA.
Order. The Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, if Canada's taxes is hurting Canadian manufacturers more than the American targets, they are dumb and they should be removed, Mr. Speaker. And I would invite that minister to go and meet small and medium-sized manufacturers across Ontario. But the industry minister is the most lobbied minister in Canada. In fact, GM is the most frequent meeting. I want the minister to tell us, did GM mention tariffs? Did GM mention payroll taxes, NAFTA? What was GM asking the minister about before they decided to close up shop in Oshawa.
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like the Conservatives and the leader of the Conservative Party to be very clear.
That's you, Andrew.
Is the Conservative position now that Canada should unilaterally drop our retaliatory tariffs? Because I want to tell you what this...
Order. 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 The Honourable Member for Durham and the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs will come to order, along with lots of others, I hope. Order. The member for Yellowhead can't hear, and we all need to hear both the question and the answers. Order. So we'll have some order. Order. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs has the floor.
So I would like the Conservatives to come clean on what their policy is on Canada's just and correct retaliation. Because here's what the Canadian Steel Producers Association said today. Canada's retaliatory tariffs are vital in protecting the jobs of 23,000 steelworkers. We stand with them. Do you?
I remind the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs to direct her comments to the Chair. I don't think she was asking me a question, but as far as I can tell, order. I'm getting heckled on all sides all of a sudden. The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, everyone knows that this government capitulated time and time again when they did their negotiations. Now, Mr. Speaker, over 2,500 people are out of work in Oshawa, and this government's plan appears to be to do nothing. This Prime Minister is admitting defeat, throwing in the towel before the fight even starts. On this side of the House, we aren't going to give up on those workers and those jobs. What is this government's plan to fight for manufacturing jobs in places like Oshawa, Mr. Speaker? Where is their plan?
I remind the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs that the time order. I remind the honourable members, including the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs and others, I didn't hear a particular member on that side, so I appreciate the assistance, but I'd rather have quiet. Order. Order. Remind members that the time to speak is when they have the floor and not otherwise. The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, read my lips. We will never, ever give up on our workers. We will never, ever give up on workers because we support the automotive sector. We support the automotive industry. We've been very clear that this sector is absolutely critical to the Canadian economy. And when it comes to Oshawa, we understand how difficult this is for the workers and the communities. That is why we're working with local community officials. That is why we're working with the province. That is why we're working with the unions to make sure we look at all options and move forward on a path forward to help our auto workers.
I appreciate members addressing the chair. The order and speaking when they have the floor only. The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, read my lips is exactly what George H. Walker Bush said before promising not to raise taxes, which is exactly what he turned around and did. Right. And it's exactly what the current minister is doing. He's promising something, the opposite of which he is delivering. He's got a new carbon tax that makes it more expensive for factories to heat themselves, to operate machinery, to move goods from A to B. That is precisely what it means to give up on our workers. Will he stand with our workers and cancel this carbon tax to save our jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr.
Speaker, of course we will stand up and defend our workers, and of course we understand how difficult this is for the workers in Oshawa and the impact this is having on their families and communities. But what the member opposite should also understand, when $5.6 billion worth of investments are made, it's because we have the right conditions. We have a world-class workforce. We have free trade agreements that has market access into North America, into Europe, into Asia, and we have the right incentives in place to make sure that we have the ability to build the world's best vehicles in the world. That is a plan that is working. It's because of the Strategic Innovation Fund, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Liberal Tory, same old story, Mr. Speaker. The GM plant closure in Oshawa is just like the one in Windsor's, shattering families. They learned nothing. This government never even bothered to put in a national auto strategy. Liberals knew this was coming, and they did nothing. These families deserve a government that puts families first, not a Liberal government that gives billions of dollars to rich corporations like GM without a guarantee that jobs are going to remain in our communities. What more than expressing disappointment are they actually doing for these families?
Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, it's a bit rich for the NDP to talk about our government's plan, because when the Prime Minister was in Windsor and he announced a $1.2 billion investment into the Windsor engine plant, we had members from the NDP in the audience clapping, Mr. Speaker. So make no mistake, we have a plan. That plan is working. We're investing in the automotive sector, and that's creating tens of thousands of jobs, Mr. Speaker, and we'll continue to defend this sector, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, workers have suffered enough. After the massive layoffs at Bombardier, the announcement that the Oshawa GM plant was closing, now we've learned that workers won't see a single penny from the Via Rail fleet renewal contract. The U.S. has set local content standards at 65%. And China has set theirs at 70 and 90%. Why is it so complicated for the Liberals to protect jobs here, integrate Canadian technology, and develop our expertise? Well, Minister for Transport. Mr. Speaker, it would be absolutely inappropriate for anyone to comment on the RFP that is taking place for the Via Rail fleet renewal for the Quebec-Windsor corridor. But I can assure you that this process was open and transparent. And I would recommend to my colleague on the other side to wait for the outcome. The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, we've just learned from a CRA internal report that the data of 10,000 Canadians was accessed unknowingly by them by employees. And this is on top of the Liberal government allowing Statistics Canada to continue accessing Canadians' personal information. The government must take steps immediately to protect the confidential information of Canadian men and women. Can the government confirm that steps have been taken to deal with the CRA employees who breached the private information of Canadian citizens? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. That kind of behavior on the type of employees is unacceptable, and it does not reflect the high professionalism of the tens of thousands of employees at CRA who do good work on a daily basis. We try to ensure the highest standards of the employees in the Government of Canada, and we continue to improve. I can confirm that the individual in question is no longer an employee of the department. At the time, though, that employee was working under the Conservatives. Now, this case is before the courts, and therefore I cannot comment any further on it. The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, another report from Parliament tells us that more than 2,000 incidents of privacy breaches took place between September 2016 and June 2018. And the Minister didn't even feel the need to inform the Privacy Commissioner of this. If the Commissioner is supposed to be able to do his work, the government has to be responsible and disclose any irregularities within her own department. So I will repeat my question. Are the employees who were responsible for this been dealt with. The Honourable Minister of Revenue, Mr. Speaker, each case of misbehaviour is unacceptable and does not reflect the professionalism of tens of thousands of employees in the agency. The government has strengthened oversight technology by investing $10 million in the implementation of management solutions. Our investments are giving results, Mr. Speaker. There was an increase in the number of breaches reported, and that is thanks to that oversight technology. Any allegations are taken seriously and are consistently investigated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the CBC has reported that, quote, the files of at least 10,000 Canadians were compromised at the Canada Revenue Agency, including cases where employees kept files on neighbours, family members, and even fellow employees. The report also said data snooping is getting worse under this government, and yet the Liberals can't understand why the majority of Canadians oppose being required to give their bank statements to Statistics Canada. So when will the Liberals end its unauthorized surveillance of Canadians?
Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, each case of misbehaviour is unacceptable and does not reflect the professionalism of tens of thousands of employees at the Canada Revenue Agency. I am very pleased that our government invested more than $10 million precisely, Mr. Speaker, for this. That's something that the government didn't do under the Conservatives. So think of all those situations that weren't detected under their watch. We take these situations very seriously. We take Canadians' privacy very seriously, and it's a priority for the agency.
Calgary, Rocky Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, the problem is getting worse under this government. She's been the minister for 4 years. Yes. It's time for her to take responsibility, or 3 years, responsible for her own track record. This week's report that says unauthorized snooping is, quote, on the rise, does nothing to give Canadians confidence in this government. Given that thousands of compromised files at the Canada Revenue Agency, will this government finally tell Statistics Canada that it can't have Canadians' financial information without their consent?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, once again, our government invested $10 million to protect the safety of these files of the population. We aren't acting like the Conservatives opposite, who for 10 years just stuck their heads in the sand.
Alors.
Order.
L'honorable député de Salaberry-sur-Roi.
The honourable member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, Environnement Jeunesse and Environment Youth Group contends that the government has violated fundamental rights of young people, and they are bringing a class action suit on behalf of Quebecers who are 35 years of age and under. According to the organization, the government displayed gross negligence on the climate change file. It's clearly not this government that's going to make a real change. They're buying pipelines with our money. They're going to miss their GHG reduction targets because they have no plan. Will Liberals listen to this passionate plea on the part of young Quebecers, or do they prefer to listen to their friends in the oil industry? The Honourable Minister, Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of what young people are doing in terms of climate change action. We have a plan. We're working seriously day in, day out. We have put a price on carbon, a price on pollution. We are making historic investments in public transit and renewable energies. We're investing in clean technologies. We will continue to do so. I will push for real progress on the Paris Accord. We're doing this for our children and our grandchildren.
Mr. Speaker, more than a third of one-bedroom units in the Toronto area are overcrowded. Imagine a one-bedroom apartment for a family of 6. This is a snapshot of Canada's housing crisis. Renters and families are among the hardest hit. And still, this Liberal government refuses to make housing a right as they promised. Yesterday, housing providers and advocates presented the government with a way forward. What do Canadians have to do to make this Liberal government ensure that housing is a right in this country now, not later, and certainly not after the next election?
Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful to be able to answer this question. Providing a safe and affordable home for all Canadians is a key objective of our government. That's why, since 2016, we have helped 1 million families having access to a safe and affordable place to call home. And that's why only a week ago we celebrated the first anniversary of a historic first-ever national housing strategy, a 10-year plan to invest $40 billion in the housing needs of Canadians. And that's why a right to housing will be a key pillar of that long-term plan.
Excellent. Well, member for West Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having energy-efficient buildings is critically important to our government's efforts to reduce GHGs and to make our communities more sustainable. In my riding of West Nova, residents know that ensuring our buildings are in a good state of repair now and for years to come is essential to our well-being. Can the Minister of Infrastructure and Communities explain what steps our government is taking to ensure this is the case?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member from West Nova for his question and for his great work on behalf of his constituents. Our government was proud to recently invest $3.4 million to improve green infrastructure in the municipality of Argyle. This investment in Argyle is to build a new, fully accessible and net zero energy municipal administrative building to better serve the region. Mr. Speaker, we are proud to improve the people's quality of life in Argyle and across Canada.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, major ethical lapses are a hallmark of this Liberal government. Today we learn Raj Grewal, the former member for Brampton East, has been under RCMP investigation for months in connection with millions of dollars in gambling activity using suspect funds. This at the same time the Ethics Commissioner has been investigating the MP's extra-parliamentary employment and for greasing the way for that employer to attend a prime ministerial event in India. Again, a question asked so many times in the last 3 years, Mr. Speaker, when did the Prime Minister become aware of this RCMP investigation?
Before I go to the Honourable Government House Leader, I remind members that we cannot use the personal name of a member. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as I stated yesterday, it was last week that we were informed that the member told us that he is addressing certain challenges and is receiving the treatment from a health professional. Based on these circumstances, it was agreed that his decision to resign as member was the right one. We hope that he receives the support that he needs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister himself misled the House because he said that the member had resigned. So we'd like to know, there is at the present time an investigation by the RCMP and the Federal Ethics Commissioner because the member in question had invited his boss to an event during the Prime Minister's India trip. When did the Prime Minister learn that his member was being investigated? It was last Monday that we heard that the honourable member was being treated for health problems, and we hope he gets the help he needs. The honourable member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, after 3 years of Liberal government, veterans are still waiting for them to keep their promises. It's really discouraging to see that more than 3,000 veterans have been waiting more than a year to get answers. They have to undergo another medical examination when they've already been examined by physicians in the National Defence Department. Will the government respect the diagnoses of National Defence physicians in the interest of our brave veterans?
Delivering timely services for veterans, and we know on this we need to do a lot better. Members opposite should also remember that the Auditor General said it was the Harper government that was not doing enough to facilitate veterans' timely access to mental health services and benefits. Mr. Speaker, we have invested $10 billion. We've hired 470 new frontline staff. We are getting it done, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The honourable member for Brantford-Brant.
Mr. Speaker, here are the facts. Dysfunction, mismanagement, and incompetence. 29,000 veterans are in a backlog waiting for a decision. Of those, 3,000 have waited for over a year.
Oh.
There has been $42 billion spent by this minister, and nothing has improved.
Ooh.
When is this minister going to stop wasting time and money and help veterans directly?
Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, since the member was a part of the Harper government, I'll take him at his word that he knows something about dysfunction. What did he think, Mr. Speaker, would happen when they closed 9 offices? What did he think would happen when they cut the budget of the department? What did he think would happen when they cut 1,000 members of the staff of the Department of Veterans Affairs? In what world do they live in that they think that will cut wait times? Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to clean up the mess they made. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Mississippi, Churchill River. Order.
Mr.
Order.
Speaker, communities across northern Saskatchewan have
The Honourable Member for Mississippi, Churchill River.
Okay, now. Mr. Speaker, communities across northern Saskatchewan have become inaccessible because of broken and unfinished roads, lack of rail access, and no safe public transportation. The conditions are worse now that winter has settled in. The Liberals keep neglecting the calls from local leadership like Mayor Bruce Fiddler in Creighton to invest in safe and reliable infrastructure. Northerners deserve better. Why doesn't this Liberal government care about infrastructure in northern communities?
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for a question. Actually, we're acting, Mr. Speaker. We have an historic investment of $180 billion over the next 10 years in infrastructure that will see communities across Canada, northern community, rural community, urban communities see better infrastructure, because we know that what Canadians want, Mr. Speaker, is infrastructure of the 21st century that are modern, resilient, and green. That's what we're going to deliver to Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot. Mr. Speaker, Liberals have no strategy to bridge the digital gap. None. And who says this? The Auditor General. He asserts that the lack of Liberal planning in rural and remote regions has deprived them of high-speed internet access, and they really need this. In my riding, 16 out of 25 municipalities have connection issues. In order to help small business, families, and young people in the regions, we need a strategy. When will the government invest to make sure everyone is connected? The Honourable Member of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, I understand how important high-speed internet access is, and that is why we have brought in a program, Connect to Innovate, in order to help rural and remote regions everywhere in Canada.
My provincial and territorial counterparts to put forward a framework on the first national broadband strategy, high-speed broadband strategy for rural and remote communities, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue to work on this very important issue.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, Friday, November 23rd last, we learned that the President of the Treasury Board had provided contradictory information. In the House, he declared he had gotten involved in the ship procurement contract, but to the RCMP, he said that it was not the role of Treasury Board to get involved. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are entitled to understand the role of the President of Treasury Board in this entire ambiguous process. Who did he tell the truth to?
Safety.
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable gentleman has a specific accusation to make, he should draw that accusation to the attention of the appropriate police authorities, or perhaps he would care to say it outside.
The Honourable Member for Order. The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the Treasury Board has told two different stories with respect to the political interference with the naval supply ship contract. In October, he told the House that it was his job to examine the details. And in 2016, he told the RCMP that it wasn't his job. He can't have it both ways. Will the President of the Treasury Board stand in the House today and tell us which version of the truth is accurate?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, when legal matters are to be investigated, they are investigated independently by the RCMP, and any decision with respect to charges is made independently by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, the creation of that office in the first place was done back in 2005 by the previous government. Indeed, the Prime Minister of the day, Mr. Harper, said, "We will ensure that decisions about criminal prosecutions are independent of politicians and independent of politics." That's our system, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Order. The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is not about a court case. This is about the integrity and honesty of the President of the Treasury Board. He's told two different stories that contradict each other. This is a serious issue with respect to political interference in a major contract. Where is the transparency and accountability? Why won't the President of the Treasury Board come clean and tell us which version of his story is true?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the details of any legal case are to be determined independently by our court system. That is how the process works. The Distinguished Defence Counsel, acting now for Admiral Norman, proclaimed that our legal system should never be denigrated for political gain. We have, she said, one of the greatest legal systems in the world. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, let it do its work.
Member for Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has a long history of resettling the world's most vulnerable refugees through the private sponsorship program, thanks to Canadians coming together to help resettle the most vulnerable. The residents of Brampton South have raised the plight of Sikh and Hindu refugees from Afghanistan who have faced violence and persecution. The Buller Foundation has answered the call to help resettle this religious minority population through the private sponsorship program. Can the Minister please update the House on the progress to resettle these privately sponsored refugees?
Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member from Brampton South for her strong advocacy on this issue. Mr. Speaker, as you know, we've quadrupled the number of spaces available in the private-sponsored refugee program as compared to the Conservatives. This has allowed us to reduce processing times, to reduce backlogs, to work closely with community sponsors like the Buller Foundation to resettle even more religious minorities. That is why I'm so happy to update this House that on the third-year anniversary of the passing of the late Honourable Man-Made Buller, that the approved families for resettlement will be arriving in Canada early in the new year.
Member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, Tides Canada has led the coordinated campaign against the construction of new pipelines and the Alberta energy sector. We know foreign money flows to Tides to help fund that campaign. But this morning we found that the Liberal government has decided to flow money to Tides to support the campaign as well. No one believes the Prime Minister supports Alberta's struggling energy sector while he funds the greatest opponents to it. Can the Minister of the Natural Resources explain why they're funding the Tides campaign against Alberta jobs in the energy sector?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources. Order.
Mr. Speaker, we understand that right now in the oil fields of Alberta, people are frustrated. They're frustrated by the price differential. We know that the solution is to build pipeline capacity and expand the oil to new markets. That is why we are working hard to do that and make sure that we do that in the right way. Currently in Alberta, there is no consensus within the industry on short-term solutions. However, we welcome workable solutions to work with the province of Alberta to make sure that we move forward in the right way. Merci.
Order. I remember for Yellowwood couldn't hear earlier, and now. Order. 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 Member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Liberals are blocking equal pay and safer workplaces at Canada Post. Postal workers in my riding say, quote, social assistance checks were held back by Canada Post. We were instructed we could not deliver these checks even though they were in our Nanaimo facility. Workers want to deliver assistance checks. They also want to be treated fairly, but Canada Post and the Liberals are painting posties as the enemy. Why are Liberals using the most vulnerable people to undermine workers' rights?
Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, our government expects all employers to provide safe workplaces, and as Canada Post works to reduce the backlogs, the health and safety of its employees will continue to take the highest priority. But, Mr. Speaker, the labour dispute has taken its toll on Canadians, including workers, charities, organisations and businesses of all sizes, and Canada Post will be doing everything it can to get up to full operations as quickly as possible.
The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville, Mr. Speaker. This week is National Addictions Awareness Week. Countrywide, we are seeing a crisis, especially with opioids, and it's important to think about the complex issue of addiction and how we can help them. I'd like to thank health professionals who save lives, who help reduce stigma, and help families help their loved ones. I'd like to know what this government is doing to fight addiction. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his excellent question. The problem consumption of substances can affect everyone, loved ones, friends, colleagues. Our government has continue to help those who need help and to keep Canadians informed with awareness-raising campaigns of the necessity of providing help where needed.
Today, the steel and aluminum tariffs are in place. Canadian jobs are at risk. The new NAFTA agreement with the United States and Mexico is a deal with many concessions. The Liberals gained nothing and lost a lot. Why did the Prime Minister give up so much without ensuring that steel and aluminum tariffs will be lifted?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, our government is absolutely clear on the steel and aluminum tariffs imposed illegally and unjustly by the United States. Our view is that we have to fight these tariffs. We fight them with a strong retaliatory response. We fight them at the WTO, and we fight them at NAFTA, where we have preserved the Chapter 19 tribunals. What is unclear, Mr. Speaker, is the position of the Conservative Party, which seems today to be arguing we should capitulate just as they did on NAFTA.
Mark. Alors, Honourable.
Order, please. The Honourable Member for Joliette. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Transport Minister announced that a free trade agreement with Europe is going to go forward on the backs of Quebec workers. Via Rail, which is a Crown corporation, and Crown, this means a government. So Via Rail is going to have its trains manufactured in Europe rather than Quebec. There are people in Saint-Bruno and in Napocatière who have the expertise needed, but once again, Quebec is being tossed aside. Why has the Minister agreed that Quebec workers should be left by the wayside?
Mr. of International Trade, Diversity.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to opening markets for Canadian workers and businesses. We are the only country in the G7 that has a free trade agreement with all other G7 nations. We are committed to helping our businesses grow. That's why in the fall economic statement, the Minister of Finance has announced our trade diversification strategy to help businesses in Quebec and across Canada, because we want to bring more investment to Canada, we want to create more jobs for Canadians, and we want to raise the quality of living for all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Bécancour, Nicolas Sorel. Mr. Speaker, we knew that our dairy producers had been left high and dry in the free trade agreement with Europe. We didn't know that the same thing held with our rail industry. A Canadian corporation that is controlled by this government hands over a $1 billion contract to one of Quebec's competitors. What's their pretext? they poorly negotiated the free trade agreement. Will the minister talk to the executives of this Crown Corporation in order that our workers not fall victim to their inability to negotiate? The Honourable Minister, Mr. Speaker, as I said, it would be inappropriate for anyone in this House to talk about a tender that was still underway with respect to replacing our Quebec-Windsor fleet. But Via Rail is a Crown Corporation that is independent, is arm's length. And I can assure him that this process was open, transparent, rigorous, and was done according to the rules of trade. The Honourable Member for Beauce.
The industry in Western Canada has suffered a proportionally far greater crisis than the automobile industry. And yet, not only is the government not helping, it will make energy projects even more difficult with Bill C-69. Can the minister give us assurance that she will finally listen to the concerns of the industry and pull out this bill?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to stand and say that Canadians should be confident in the evaluation of major projects.
Way our resources will get to market. There was a failed system under the previous government. We were not able to do that. We didn't bring Indigenous peoples together. We didn't take serious environmental concerns, nor did we have a timely process, nor did we work with provinces to ensure one project with one review. That's exactly what we're doing.
I would like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of the 2018 Governor-General's Literary Award winners, Paul Gagné, Laurie Saint-Martin, Marianne Dubuc, Mario Brassard, Frédéric Lavoie, Anne-Marie Olivier, Michael Trahan, Caroline Georges, Howard Scott, Phyllis Aronoff, Gillian Tamaki, Jonathan Auxier, Darrell J. McLeod, Jordan Tannehill, Cecily Nicholson, Sarah Henstra.
I would also like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Isaka Sidibe, Chair of the National Assembly of Mali.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope is rising on a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising on the issue of the question from the member for Thornhill, and I'm hoping that you can provide some clarification. On November 22nd, Thursday, CTV News reported that the member for Brampton East informed the Chief Government Whip that he intends to leave, which according to the Canadian press is effective immediately. On November 23rd, Friday, in the Toronto Star, the Prime Minister's office is quoted as saying, "Based on these circumstances, we agreed that his decision to resign as Member of Parliament from Brampton East was the right one." Mr. Speaker, as far as we have been told, this member has resigned from Parliament. Could you inform this House of what the procedure is to inform this chamber about a member resigning, and whether we would be made aware of that from your office as soon as possible, or whether we should continue to rely on inaccurate media reports that say he is a former member of Parliament?
The honourable member for Skeena Bulkley Valley is rising on the same point of order.
Yeah, this question and response left me